In their recent BBCs, Venerable Kunga and Venerable Munlam spoke about how anger is an obstacle to compassion. So while I do have that obstacle, I have many more. So I thought to talk about some of those other obstacles to compassion, specifically jealousy, competitiveness, and arrogance. And so yesterday, as an annual tradition, the Abbey community read Shantideva's Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And in it, if you remember, you might remember from Venerable's commentary, there is a section about how to work with these afflictions when we feel superior to others, or that we're on the equal playing field, or that we're inferior. And this has been a section of the text that for the longest time I found it so confusing. I kind of avoided it. I didn't see it as really so relevant. I skipped over it. I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. Essentially, it's putting ourselves in someone else's shoes. That's the one way to say it. So Shantideva says in verse 140 of chapter 8, take others lower, higher, equal as yourself. Identify yourself as other. Then without another thought, immerse yourself in envy, pride, and rivalry. So we might think, well, why would I want to do that? Those afflictions are despicable. They're something that we should not be cultivating, actually. But in volume 5, in Praise of Great Compassion, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Venerable Chodron address this concern and say, actually, these are methods to work with these afflictions, and they actually show us how despicable they are. And also they say this meditation does indeed play on the repulsiveness of these emotions, but this time their object is our self-centered attitude, not other sentient beings. So that's a big difference. In this way, they are used as tools to show us just how contemptible our self-centeredness is, so that we will stop following its dictates. And there's another obstacle, which I alluded to at the beginning, was that it's confusing. And they say one obstacle is that we are so habituated with self-identification, referencing everything to ourselves, that it is hard to understand the use of I and he in these verses. With repeated practice, this can be overcome. So I've been trying to do this some in the retreat, and it's been very interesting. So I thought I think visuals are necessary for these verses, because without visuals, I was getting so confused. I was reading different commentaries, and it seemed like they were saying different things. And so here we are. Our I is superior to others. And so what? And then there's this inferior person. And so what Shantideva is suggesting that we do is exchange places. So now I refers to other sentient beings who are jealous of us, and he refers to our arrogant, self-centered self. So he, because Shantideva is referring to himself. So this is the exchange. And so one of these verses says, he's the center of attention. I am nothing. And unlike him, I'm poor without possessions. Everyone looks up to him, despising me. All goes well for him. For me, there's only bitterness. And so Venerable, when she was giving her commentary on this verse, said, in this whole section, she said, this is when we can whine. We can complain. We can say, it's not fair. He did da-da-da-da-da. She gets to do this. They get to do that. Why don't I get to go this place? Why do I have to do this dish rota? So we can really give it to our self-centered attitude, who is being arrogant. And one conclusion you might come to is that, yeah, arrogance is really awful. We're just rubbing it in the face of people who don't have what we have. And also that this is a sentient being deserving of compassion, right? Not our contempt. So now competitiveness. So we're equal to someone. And so we're asked again to change places. And so Shantideva says, that I might excel, outstripping him regarded as my peer and equal. In contest, I will certainly secure my fame and fortune, public renown. So Venerable was saying, we compete over the stupidest things, and I know that to be the case in my experience. I can compete over offerings, over motivations, over BBCs, over anything, and I do it constantly, and it is so painful. One conclusion I came to with this is that we are exactly the same. Like, we all want to be best. We want to have the best everything, actually. I mean, I do. We want to win. When I was in, I think, elementary school, I placed second in the science fair. And I was so angry, and I stormed out of the cafeteria, I think, that was being held in, right past the winner. And my mom had a few words with me about how I acted, being very competitive and jealous. And so in meditation, I was thinking, like the little boy who got first place. Yes, I won. I won, Dad. Look, I got the blue ribbon. And it just cracked open my heart, to get on the other side. He wanted to win. What's the difference? We both want to win. And so now this is my favorite, jealousy. So here we are inferior. And then we switch places and we become the superior. So this I refers to other sentient beings who are arrogant towards us. And the he refers to our jealous, self-centered self. So one of the verses here is, just to hear them talk about my excellence, my reputation on the lips of all. The thrill of it sends shivers down my spine, a pleasure that I bask and revel in. And there was one commentary I read that said to really feel that, like feel the goosebumps and yeah, I'm really the best. This feels so good. And I was thinking, yeah, I mean, I would feel that if I had what they had. I mean, that's kind of like why I'm jealous, because I want to feel that. But what was very interesting in this meditation is that you can feel that by thinking that. It was like amazing. It's like, oh, I actually feel like, oh, I'm superior just by thinking it. So it really showed me how powerful the mind is. And that these verses do have relevance. And I think this can be used in all kinds of situations. People at work, people at school, people at the monastery, people at home. I was even playing around with groups of people, like in society, there may be a class of people or a group of people that we put down, or a class of people that we put up, and to do it with those groups of people as well. And then I was also thinking that we do it with the same person, right? There's some aspect of myself or some quality I have that I think is better. There's some quality that is worse. There's some quality that seems equal. So I think we could use all of these verses with the same person. And so I think one conclusion that I've been coming to is, again, like Venerable Chodron and His Holiness say, is these ways of relating to other sentient beings, they don't say it in this term, but they're garbage. They're garbage ways of relating to others, and they're ways I don't want to relate to others. They're useless, they're painful, and they really block us from seeing others' perspectives. And I was also thinking about in terms of how we generate bodhicitta and how we use equanimity as the starting point, and how these meditations can also be a kind of generating of equanimity. We're kind of leveling the playing fields. We're seeing that we're superior and lower and equal to different people and at different times and with different aspects of ourselves. And so we can really level the playing field in that way. Janet Gatso, a Harvard professor of Buddhist studies, she wrote a chapter in the book Readings of Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Practice. And in her chapter, she's discussing this practice in particular. And she entitles this chapter, Seeing from All Sides. So I wanted to share 2 quotes. She said, "It may be that the very act of shifting perspective itself, of allowing a novel and indeed surprising angle or perspective to dawn, is what carries the most moral potential, even more than the specific content of the image itself." So I found that really true, that, I don't know what people are thinking about me necessarily, but just by imagining what they might be thinking about me and really trying to get in their shoes, not from my perspective, right, of judging them, but from their perspective of this is actually how I perceive. I found it to be, really, really true, and that it really doesn't matter what kinds of things we use. The fact that we're trying to empathize, really, we're trying to get in touch with what they're thinking is helpful, I found. She also says, perhaps the more we are able to cultivate and incorporate external vantages into our way of seeing ourselves, the more we render ourselves available to an expanded and more ethical way of being in the world. Yeah, so we just get out of ourselves, right? We get out of this self-centered attitude. And even just trying to get out of it, I found to be so beneficial. And I really want to continue with this. So in conclusion, I think, just when we attempt to see ourselves from another's perspective, just that effort that we make, what might it be like for that person? How might I come across to that person? I think this has really so much potential and value in our cultivation of compassion.